Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I know that we had promised a friend that we would be
Yes.
here on time. So he
All
might
right.
be watching, he might not be. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, Chris, if you're here, welcome. And
And
everybody
we're
else,
thinking about you. Yes.
welcome to Leadership Uncertain, where we are having adventures in love, confusion,
Power
power,
and
and
dignity.
and dignity. Yes, indeedy. Quite a grab bag of things to adventure in. And what an adventure
Uh,
remains. Uh, I've told you this much before we hit go live today, Hugh. I told you that I had the great grace this week of being with a leader who said to me, "Who am I being that my team lacks accountability?"
Woo.
And I call it the great grace because, uh, talk about leadership uncertain, talk about humility. Jocko Willink talks about radical. I think he calls it radical ownership.
Mm.
So that is a question that to me sure sounds as if it comes from a place of radical ownership and humility. Um, who am I being that my team lacks accountability?
I have so many issues with that question. I
Well,
have
I,
so many
I love
issues
the
with it.
question. You have issues with it. Tell me
It's
about your
it's
issues.
it's almost there. It's almost there. So one of the things we have to be very careful about with the power that we are granted as entrepreneurs. And I promise you, I am not being contrarian to be contrarian.
No, it's
I
just
s-
it's
I
just deep
only
in your nature.
I only oh wow, I'm only pretending to be contrarian because I am completely focused on empowering my friend Aaron to cling to the best ideas he can because his fate and what he believes will determine the success of so many companies.
Mm.
And so your being able to think clearly is of personal importance to me. So here's why I don't like that question. And it's not because it's not a good question, it just serves a different purpose. The question presumes that his team lacks accountability. Now, that is a very damning assessment in my mind's eye.
Hmm.
It actually robs us of what accountability could be there that could be further developed. What does it mean that I have walked into a room and I have damned everything in the room? And I
Hmm.
have been so arrogant as to make it my doing that this room is devoid of meaning and purpose. And I'm sure he didn't say it that way, and I'm sure he didn't mean that way, and I'm taking it to a completely different place.
Yeah,
But
that is not how I
let's
hear that question
let's
at
let's
all.
take the trip. So remember, I wrote a book on questions. You didn't like it very much, but that's okay.
I loved the thinking beneath it.
You
The
hated the book itself, and nobody's perfect.
yeah.
So just because you didn't like it, that's fine. What I will tell you though is I am always very interested as a leader in finding and growing the seeds that are there.
Mm,
So my question becomes, who am I such that I can inspire more accountability from the team that I have? Because then what that does is that it does not start from a zero sum game. It does not
mm,
damn those who are taking the trip. They are showing up to work.
yeah.
There is accountability in that.
Well, it's true, and I hear the question very differently. And in the way that I hear the question, there is the space for your question to be
Of course.
uh I don't know, a collaborator, right?
Yes.
I think it would have been a very different question and one that I did not like had it been who am I being that my team is devoid of accountability?
Well, so would you say to a 3-year old what kind of parent am I that you can't be clean?
Uh,
That's on the same vibrational energy for me.
oh
Now,
wow,
again,
that is so different for me on so many levels. It's different for me in that a he didn't ask his team this question.
oh, him asking himself is even worse.
I don't know about
Because
that.
what that means to me is that he's now ingesting and chewing on pathology and not giving himself an opportunity. Well, again, I don't mean to judge, and yes, space is available everywhere, and I am being such a jerk right now. But you understand that
I
there's
wouldn't be
nothing
doing
but
this show with you if you wouldn't be a jerk at all.
well, so let's appreciate the humility and the the capacity for introspection that is available with the
Mm.
question.
And the I would say also the quest for what is the behavior that I must adopt if I want to get different results.
And therein lies, and get C plus, right? C plus. Let's go for the B minus. So the C plus says, who am I that my team isn't accountable? What am I doing such that my team isn't accountable? That presupposes that my team isn't accountable. That to me is a damning premise. It
Mm.
is starting from beneath the ground with which to begin action and analysis.
And I look
Whereas
forward. I look forward to hearing how that is, because for me it occurs as an accounting question, right?
to
If depending on how we define accountability and the way that I define accountability, it is an accounting question.
no, 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 my friend, no, no. So here is, and understand, appreciate that we all begin English. Where on earth is there a perfect vacuum?
On Earth, there is no
Yes.
perfect vacuum.
Thank you.
I believe.
Thank you.
I hope.
Why do I ask you that question?
I'm looking forward to finding out.
So for me to set up a premise that presupposes that my team is not accountable suggests that there is a space in which there is a perfect vacuum where there is no air.
Huh?
Huh?
Yeah, I don't follow.
Okay. To say that my team has no accountability does not give me the it does not give me the space to appreciate what accountability is there
Yes.
and build from it.
So again, I don't hear lacks accountability as the same as devoid of accountability.
So with okay. So when you hear my team lacks accountability, you don't hear you're hearing you are if I'm understanding you correctly, you're hearing lacks some accountability.
Yes, and to be fair to you, I had the context of prior conversation. To me, it's
And
kind of
I
like
was not being fair at all. That
it's
was
very
my
much like
premise.
I lack strength, right? I mean, clearly, like my hand is up in the air. That doesn't mean, which demonstrates clearly I have some strength,
Right.
and yet compared to what I would like from my arms capacity, there is a gap.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna skip to the middle because I'm fighting you, and I appreciate always fighting you like this. But here's why I'm still stuck on this point is the art of being synthetically creative is assembling a world from pieces that you have around you. Okay? Why do I say that? I say it because in and the whole premise of the book that you hate so much that I wrote, I'm giving you crap. The
You're not
premise,
just giving me crap. You're inventing
it's
dialogue
true.
that
I
never
know you
happened.
like the book, and I'm just teasing you because I have hurt feelings. The whole idea behind the ability to be synthetically creative is recognizing the ability to use what is there. And what I don't like about the question is that it doesn't give people an opportunity to step into what they already have the ability to evolve.
Mm.
Now you have supposed or presupposed an intention of openness where I don't see that. I all I have is what the premise you gave me. You have the gift of
Uh,
context and
Too fair.
fairness, and you
Yeah.
know the person's kindness and generosity, and they wouldn't be hanging out with you if they weren't truly a person of character and value. So I'm ignoring all of that and just judging the statement as it is in an attempt to help your friend have access to a perspective that will lead to two outcomes: confidence and creativity. Those are the two elements that allow any entrepreneur to solve any problem. It's the two things that we have. It's not money, it's not venture capital, it's not all those things come because you have confidence, clarity and confidence. So you have the ability to clear your thinking. You know what it is that the creativity, confidence. Those are the things. Clarity, creativity, and confidence. Those are the three things that allow us to be able to get so absolutely focused so that the solutions and the ideas and the money and all that stuff comes together to solve whatever the problem is. And you have more C's, collaboration and the cooperation that gets to happen and part of the exercise that I found that saves the most amount of time is having people recognize that they're already their own heroes.
I love this. I love this. And I want to tell you a story about a restaurant. And before I do that, I will say that one of the things that makes me love this question, who am I being that my team lacks accountability, is the incredible distance that it is from the question that I usually get. The question that I usually get is some form of, what's the matter with my team
Oh, sure,
that they aren't
sure.
accountable?
That's the F plus question.
So I promised you a question about a restaurant. Excuse me, a
Oh,
story.
okay. Well, no, you
Yes,
you 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 stepped in the hornet's nest. Give me 10 seconds.
of course.
So now we're having fun with the question. This is my favorite exercise. A version that could be a B question,
Yeah.
taking on the who do I get to be to inspire the most amount of accountability from my team?
And I love that question even more. Uh, and it is essentially the question that we eventually answered together.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
what I love about the question, "Who am I being that my team lacks accountability?" is a tremendous uh, distance along that journey,
Yes,
and and it's a simple step from that question to yours, where
yes,
the question from the the
yeah.
the journey
What the
from
hell is
what's the
who the
matter
hell
with
is wrong
my
with my
team,
team? Right? Yeah, got it.
that is there's a whole universe to traverse between that question and yours that lots of people are incapable of making.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And so to
You're telling me the story of the restaurant. Sorry.
uh, quite all right. I used to work at a restaurant as a server, where I was essentially asked the question repeatedly, "What's the matter with you that
Mm,
you aren't accountable?" And the owners of this restaurant had two locations, and when one of the owners would leave our location to walk the block and a half to the other location, somebody would pick up the phone and call the other location and say,
watch
"Watch
out.
out, the owner is coming." And and to their credit, they did manage somehow to create an exceptional team in the restaurant, and they did manage somehow to create an exceptional customer experience. So it was great food, great environment, great service. It was really, in many ways, a great place to work when the owners weren't there. Um,
Oh my gosh, that's good. That's
and
awesome.
one night and to be fair, also there was one owner who had a short temper and could be worked with, and
Mm,
one owner who had a longer fuse and could not be worked with.
okay, that's
Um,
fascinating.
so they were on vacation one day, Friday night. So this is the one of the biggest revenue days in the week, followed by the biggest revenue day in the week, and so everything needs to work, even though no owners are here. And early in the evening, the Hobart machine, which, if you're not familiar with restaurant kitchens, it's kind of like the dishwasher. It sanitizes and does a little bit of cleaning, but mostly it sanitizes the dishes. And if it's not working, we're not serving dinner because we've served dinner. We have no more plates. We got to keep the plates churning through the Hobart machine. The Hobart machine literally blew a gasket,
Mm.
a valve, a pressure relief valve at the top of a pipe burst off. The valve was gone. And it's Friday night, so there are no plumbers, there are no spare parts, there is no owner to turn to. Uh, the restaurant was about to shut down, and I learned about this and from the manager who was on duty that night, and he was saying, I think we're going to have to shut down. And I said, hold on, not yet. Had it been the owner, I would have, speaking of synthetic creativity, had it been the owner, I would have said, okay. Instead, I said, hang on a second. And I started walking through all of the back of house areas, the supply closet and the kitchen and everything. I was just walking around, and the manager is kind of following me at a little bit of a distance, and he said, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I will know it when I see it." And I found a raw potato,
Okay, you
and
stuck
so
it right on it.
I grabbed the potato and I shoved it down in this thing like it was a potato gun, and we got 5 cycles out of that potato.
Popped again.
So I grabbed it. We grabbed another potato, and we made it through that night essentially without a hitch. And so the importance of this, of not going to the question, what is the matter with you that you act this way?
Mm.
I mean, they would have been out thousands of dollars in revenue had they been there, had the owners been there, because I would have not had, not have tapped into, would have not felt the generosity of spirit or the safety to take the risk
Mm.
had they been there.
And kudos to your manager for having walked behind you.
Totally. Totally kudos to him. And to be fair, kudos to the owner who came back and bought me a beer, uh, who learned the story and said, you saved our weekend. Thank you.
Awesome. That is a very good story. Makes me reflect then, what and who do I get to be
Mm.
to create the space for more creativity and shining from my team?
Mm. Yeah.
Who do I get to be? Because it's really neat. We had an interesting staff meeting yesterday where I don't remember what we were talking about, but we were having a conversation about some newish idea that they posed. Because we have this meeting where we basically all get together the company and anybody is able to ask anything,
Mm.
and we just answer questions. The entire staff is there, and we sometimes will come up with new things together. And I asked a question and I said, hey, this is my idea. what have I gotten wrong?
Mm.
Like, what have I not thought about, or what have I just gotten boneheaded wrong?
I love the question, "What have I gotten wrong?" as opposed to, "What do you think of this?" for a
Mm.
leader to ask,
What have I?
because it
Yeah,
so gives permission to find fault.
absolutely. You know what's awesome? I am learning about the sheer utility of negative thinking. It's so useful, so useful.
Yeah,
As entrepreneurs, we have to be hardwired to repel negative thinking
right.
because we basically, I remember I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, never thought, oh, I want to own my own business. I was always going to be a test pilot or an engineer or somebody that had a nice safe job and a 401k.
Those were the
And
days.
yeah, right, Um, and before all of that, I was a teenager as a cadet in the Air Force Auxiliary. And my friend bought me a mug that has the correct quote from Mother Teresa, but I'm going to say it the wrong way, the way we used to say it. We the willing, led by the unknown, have done so much with so little for so long that we can now do anything with nothing.
Mm, mm.
That's not the actual quote, but that's the way we used to say it.
Yeah. I
Um,
whether Mother Teresa said that or not, that
she did. We
is
actually do
yeah,
have her quoted as
yeah,
saying the right version of this, which I will not actually recite for you.
yeah.
So you get to go find it your own for anybody who cares. Uh, the 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 what came of that was a bunch of scrappy, effectively ghetto kids in the middle of Miami Springs, Florida. We didn't have we didn't have money. So we used to march on we we would go to Miami Springs Senior High School. They let us have the basketball courts on Friday nights, and we would run around the track around the school, and we would train from 6 to 9 on Fridays. We'd get there and we'd work on the basketball courts from 9 to 5, and then competition season we would practice from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And all we had were the manuals and our skills, the manuals that you would read from the Air Force, and then we would practice. And we had a bunch of people that would come from other places sometimes to train us, but we would just grind. And we started the team that I belonged to started in 1994, and by December 1995 we were taking the national stage. We had beat the state competitions, the region competitions, and we were in the top 8 teams in the country. And we would go on to go back to nationals in 1997 and again in 2001. And personally, I would go on to train 4 more national facing teams that would either place second or third. And what was clear was the highest level of competition, the highest level of being able to do our sport had more to do with humility, kindness,
Mm,
compassion, the willingness to simply work, and respecting the fact that you could be wrong, and probably somebody that saw something from a different perspective could correct you, and being open to that,
mhm.
and always being open to that, and recognizing that you do not own ideas in your circle. The idea simply borrows you so that it can find other people to infect.
Mm.
I have no idea why I told you all of that, but here we are.
the one of the things that's stuck in my brain from before you told us that story is you said, "Who do I get to be?" And that just
Yes.
I so value the that who do I get to or what do I get to do the that I when I'm when I'm in good mind find myself replacing uh
Have to be.
what do I have to be?
Need to
What do
be.
I have
Or
to do?
need to be. Oh,
Yes.
what I need to
Uh,
do.
right. There, it is a privilege to be able to shift my behavior in order to get the results that are dear to me.
You say that, and all of a sudden my heart breaks.
That's what I'm here for to
So
break your heart.
painful. So painful. So, when you say stuff like that, it really hurts my feelings, right?
Tell me about it.
Well, I'm truly not really just busting you, but here's the challenge. You are not wrong. You're not wrong. I just in my own world, here's what I'm sensitive to. NPK. You ever heard that term? Have we talked
I,
about this?
I don't think so. But even without the NPK, I can imagine where you're going to go with this.
Where am I going to go? You know me long enough now that these are the
Yeah.
rants I go on. Tell me, what am I going to say? What am I going to
Well,
tell you?
the truth is for
Mm,
me that when I'm even in a righter mind than that,
mm.
it's not necessarily about the results that
Okay.
are dear to me, right? There is usually
Mm-hmm.
a profound connection
Mm-hmm.
between being who I get to be
Sure.
and the dignity that is my life's mission. So that
Wow.
there is greater dignity maybe every single time in my adopting that who that I get to be,
So
even if
that was the
it is the
save of
result.
the century. Good work, Aaron. Good work. You caught yourself. So here's where, for everybody who didn't understand what just happened, here was what I was about to beat you up with. NPK stands for sodium, phosphate, and potassium.
Okay.
It's a three ingredients that have revolutionized the fertilizer industry and has
Mm.
caused for us to be able to generate 10,000 times more food per squared yard than any other substance on earth.
Mm.
It's literally kept us from being a Malthusian society. Are you familiar with Malthus?
No.
1820s philosopher that basically got into the minds of the government planners in China and caused the one child policy because the whole idea
Okay.
was
Yes.
that there was not going to be enough food. So Malthusian thinking says there's not enough resources. We have to kill off what
Mm.
can happen as natural evolution because we're not going to have enough to be able to whatever. So anytime you see people wanting to cut back consumption or propagation, it's Malthusian thinking. You have to be careful. Anyway, NPK basically saved us because human ingenuity made it so that we could make 10,000 times more food on 100% less land. Like almost. Like just the amount of farm that it used to take for us to make the food we used to consume has dramatically reduced, and the amount of food we're able to make has dramatically increased. The problem with NPK is that it has when used without an appropriate balancing disposition, it bleaches the land of natural minerals that
Mm.
aren't those three things.
And so our tomatoes taste like nothing.
So there you go. So what ends up happening is that you feed more people, but with food that's not nearly as nutritious.
Mhm.
Why do I say this? So whenever I hear I'm going to do or be something so that I can, my mind initially goes, okay, great, but be aware that there is an ocean of value that we have to be careful
Mhm.
that we don't hyper focus away from because we're so zeroed in on this one
Right.
result that we missed all of this other stuff that could be making the world a richer place,
The unintended consequences.
or externalities if they're bad. There was something else I was going to mention to you, and it's now gone, and that's okay.
There's something else that you said, and now I can't remember what it was that uh, that reminded me of this. You said maybe it was when you first said, "Who do I get to be?"
Ah, I know the second thing I was going to say. Good.
All right. No, you go ahead.
Well, what I was going to also invite you to do, because I liked your premise, and we get to make it fun too. Ready?
Yeah.
You said you take it as a privilege to be able to assume a perspective, a persona, a disposition that provides you with new options.
Yes.
I have gotten into the habit of exploring the same as a game. A game. And what has become very fresh is playing this game all day long.
Mm.
Because now, hmm, my daughter will talk back to me. I have to be careful. I think I promised her that I'm not going to talk too much about her because she's like, "Daddy, don't embarrass me." Okay,
Right.
so I won't put her business out there too much, but I'm going to talk about my experience so I can stay in integrity. Um, my daughter will do something that causes me to be uncomfortable, and I must now decide, who do I get to be in this moment such that I create a space in which this does not exert power over me and I am not grasping to try to control something that is outside of my
Mm.
capacity to control.
Mm.
And in the process, becoming a person I wouldn't want to be around.
Mm.
Like, what's possible?
Mm.
How
Yeah.
can we how can we transform this moment such that we're having a really great time, and we're exploring other ways of behaving such that we are living into our best and highest selves? These are
And I
questions.
and I and I never have to play a role of a person that I wouldn't want to be around.
I can appreciate just how many problems get created because I am assessing a problem and I'm being a problem as I'm assessing a problem. Well, and that's, we're bringing it back. That, I think, is the crux of my challenge with the question you asked at the beginning. Because if you're not absolutely careful, who am I? Who do I need to be? Or I don't remember who I need to be, but that's what I remember latching onto. So we'll go with it. Who do I need to be such that my team? So, how did you frame it in the beginning? I can't even think about it the negative way anymore.
Who am I being that my team lacks accountability?
Yes, that.
The initial starting point.
Yes. So that question, I can't even say it. Oh my God. Uh, the what I'm hearing is I am framed as an entity that needs to change, not necessarily untrue, just the construct. There is limitation in the construct, right? Who do I need to be? Meaning there's an implication that I need to be different somehow, and that my team lacks. Who am I being? That my team lacks accountability. Both things are framing me as a problem, and them, well, not them, because you're not asking what's wrong with them, but you are assessing that a system of behaviors that they are engaging in is a problem. That's the energy I get from that. And so
Mm.
to me, that framing robs us of so much opportunity. Like we're already starting from behind the blocks
Mm.
with a construct like, and it's so innocuous. It's not damaging like, the F plus question. What the hell is wrong with those people? Like we're not there. But imagine imagine if you weren't creating yourself and the thing as a problem. So let's have some grace and some dignity for ourselves. And let's appreciate that we are probably showing up exactly as we have to until we can show up as someone else because we're just not
Mhm.
playing that game yet.
Yeah.
So let's play a new game. And let's give some grace to these people that showed up to work today. There's accountability there. They showed up. Is it as much accountability as we would prefer to mentally project onto their situation? Probably not. We're not going to make that wrong. We're not going to make that a problem. We're just not going to walk into the room and say there's no air in it. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
I mean, it is tempting for me when I am frustrated to
Mm,
say things like "you never," "you
mm.
always," right? That's that vacuum
Yes,
that
that's exactly it.
you find,
Yes,
right?
yes,
The
and I don't think we mean
non-existent
it.
vacuum.
We run for the extremes. We
Yeah.
run for the extremes, and
As if our position is indefensible
yes.
unless it is hyperbolic.
Well, and what we get to do even now as we talk about it, we have to even be careful to criticize because then we are doing exactly the thing that we are complaining about, right? So in the moment, there is nothing but grace. And it comes right back. And I know this is so cliche and I hate doing this, but here we are. This is another place where yes and works.
So many. I mean, that's why we call it a principle, right? Because
You
a,
know, it's
a principle is straight up applicable.
well, and what I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I continue to be fascinated and mesmerized, and I don't mean a nitpick. You're my friend, and I continue to love you dearly. The For me, the principle is what happens in your mind as a thought and a potential belief. What it points to is so much deeper than any thought can have and hold. So I don't talk about yes and because I think it and believe it. I live into yes and am able to recognize it as a thought that might address what I'm pointing to.
Right on. It's a little bit like infinity, right? I
Because
can't even begin really to grasp infinity, and I will never forget learning that there are whole different orders of infinity than the
yes,
one that we conjure to our minds first.
and you just point at the night sky.
Yeah.
You can talk for the rest of your life, or you can say nothing, and it's like the same. And so, I bring it back to yes and because the recognition that something needs to something gets to change. Something gets to change. The whole idea of using the get suggests that there is yes, yes. Way things are happening right now, if we can take the heat off and just let it be neutral. I am responsible for my team's results. I am. My business is sometimes it's doing well, sometimes there are challenges. I am consistently responsible. Got it. If I am going to create expansive, revolutionary change, I am not going to do it from a place successfully, likely, sustainably, from a place that is despondent, guilt ridden, shaming, or otherwise wrongful.
Yes. Yes, yes. Yes. So I had the I love my job. Can I just
Mm,
say I love my job. And I had yet another another kind of inconceivable to me still honor this
mm.
week, to do a 40-minute workshop, which for me
Okay.
is unbelievably short. A 40-minute workshop with a whole bunch of executives, room
Okay.
full of 30 some odd executives, overlooking this incredibly gorgeous piece of the Columbia River, um, on the Washington side facing Portland.
Okay.
And here I am standing in front of this incredible backdrop of the river, and working with these executives on essentially just this question: accountability. And we did an exercise, uh, in which two things happen at once. I present to them a standard for an operation that is very simple, in many ways mechanically easy,
Okay.
and which a group of 30 people is going to fail again and again and again. So that's number one, is I present to them this operation and the standard.
Mm.
And then I ask them to uphold the standard together. And I watch the operation move its way through this 30-person semicircle with multiple failures to uphold the standard. And despite having committed to upholding the standard, they do nothing.
Right.
And so I stop it and I say, how many errors were there? And the first time they say, we didn't see anything, I say, well, you're not upholding the standard. Then upholding the standard is going to require that you pay meticulous attention.
Mm.
And so then we do it again. And once again, it gets, through 4 or 5 errors, and I stop it and I say, how many errors were there? And people hold up a number of fingers. They saw the errors. They didn't say anything
Mm.
about it.
Okay.
And I remind them, and I say, by the way, this is totally normal. This is exactly what I expected. So if you are like other groups that I've done this with, this next iteration will be the one in which you actually begin to fully honor that commitment that you made to do the operation to standard and to uphold the standard with each other. And then we started the operation again. And multiple people, at the first error, multiple people made the exact same sound.
Mm.
Eh.
Okay.
And so I told them, you remind me of the game Operation.
Okay.
And here's what I love about the game Operation. It is absolutely accurate. I either touch the edge or I don't. It acknowledges 100% of those of those errors, and it lets go 100% of my successes. And if it only were to light up its little red nose, my anxiety level playing the game would be so much lower and my successes would be so much greater.
Okay.
And so they found ways of acknowledging the errors in the operation that did not raise the level of anxiety, did not sound like a punishment, but simply were an accounting.
Yes.
That wasn't it.
And we are responsible for the results. We hold people accountable for the results, but we do not blame or find fault.
Indeed. And so even before going through this exercise, I drew on some paper for them something called the support versus challenge matrix.
Mm.
And what I find in a lot of leaders, myself included at times, is that we're trying to balance challenge, accountability, asking for more on the one hand, versus empathy, sympathy, support on the other hand, as if they are mutually exclusive and a zero-sum game where we're turning a single dial. But the truth is, it's 2 dials, and we get to dial them both up to 11,
Right.
And that is where we are, to your point. Who do I get to be in order to inspire accountability? It's the person with support and challenge both dialed up to 11.
Inspire more accountability.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you.
The
Yeah.
you understand why that distinction
100%.
is important.
Because there is no vacuum. And it's so important to acknowledge what
Well,
is.
let me tell you why what is so effective. Because it's, I mean, everything that I do, I like to have a reason, right? There's a strategic reason, or there's just too much energy. So here's my justification. Momentum is always easier than instigation. So to instigate activity is harder than simply writing whatever energy is already in play.
Too
So
true.
that's why I do this. I do it because what is easier for me to do is bring somebody's attention to where they're already being successful and simply asking them to transition said activity to somewhere else where you are probably not experiencing the same, because guess what? You already come fully. One of the things I will often say when someone is presenting themselves in a very linear fashion is I will remind them, quite literally, that you are a universe wrapped in skin. Just don't forget it, because part of the reductionist mission that we have found ourselves on occasionally is that we'll forget that you are filled with talent, have
Mhm.
lots of responsibilities, you have insights and fears. You may not have all the knowledge necessary for a certain outcome, but guess what? You have access to being able to solve the problem in front of you. And I just remind you that you have the full capabilities of everything that you have in front of you to get it done. And everything I know will be in service of getting your work done.
Mm.
Because if we're talking, chances are I'm here to serve you. And I know that. I know my job as the CEO of the company is to create the space so that people get everything they need to get done. So I am the biggest supporter of clearing space. And and I don't know. The idea is that if I can remind you of where you are already doing the thing I am interested in,
Mhm.
and having you simply do more of it over here, that is a way easier lift than telling you, get your crap together and let's go.
And so you have beautifully illustrated one of the reasons that we called our company the Yes Works.
Hmm.
Because yes alone really can work. Thank you for the aikido, right?
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes. I'm
uh,
following you.
yeah,
Yes.
they have one of the things that they have recently started doing to train surgeons more quickly, more successfully than they ever have before. They took a lesson from dog clicker training,
Okay.
and so what the teacher will do is to watch the student surgeon with a clicker in their hand, and at the very instant that they get some piece of the maneuver correct, they
Okay.
click.
Okay.
There are no words in the training. There is no correction in the training. There is only acknowledgement. Yes, that in that very moment that was correct.
Mm.
And so when you asked earlier the question, who do I get to be so that my team is inspired to be even more accountable?
Thank you.
I thought instantly of something that happened earlier today with a brand new member of my team, whom I had asked. I've learned about this tool online that we could use to find relevant RFPs for us to respond to.
Right.
Would you please check out this tool, sign us up, see what you think? And not only did she check out that tool, she found 3, 4 others that she has signed up for. And so I wrote immediately. I wrote, I love that you've taken the initiative to go find other sources of RFPs and are taking the bull by the horn.
Hmm.
Not because I care all that much about how many tools we have to go find RFPs. In fact, I'm not sure that I want to respond to any RFPs.
Sure.
But
But that's the
to
kicker.
take this one task,
Yeah.
to imagine what might be the value in expanding that task and to go and do it without request, without asking even. I really love that she did it without asking. That's a behavior that I want repeated in other places.
Yes.
So click, click,
Bring that
click.
over here.
Yes.
Bring that over there. Take it
Yes.
over. And again, the idea that, and this is the hard part because you got to do it without faking. Can you truly be creative enough to see where it's already working? Can you manage your perspective to the point where we are simply transitioning activity? And what you are saying and assessing isn't there can be honestly observed with with the intention to inspire evolution. That's our challenge. And as leaders, if we're going to do it in a way that the Tao Te Ching suggests, where we are great and nobody gives us credit, but instead the people decide that they have done this.
Yes.
Great leaders, the people have decided we have done this. You know, your best ideas are the ones that are presented as other people's. And you just have to be cool about it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
relax and see it happening and recognize, okay, you know what? There is nothing here that isn't mine, and there's nothing here that is.
Mm. And so this conversation also has me thinking of the infant brain, which in some ways is, as I understand it, I'm not a neuroscientist, but as I understand it, is dysfunctional in part because of how much is is connected, how
Mm.
much brain is there, and it is the do they call it pairing? The
Yes,
paring back
pairing.
of
Paring, pairing.
right,
Yes.
the pairing that happens, and I think about my work as a theater director and how that overlaps with my work leading my company and helping other leaders to lead theirs. Every every one of our team members,
Hmm.
especially the new ones, every one of them comes forward every day with so many behaviors. And it is the ones that get rewarded. The neurons that fire together wire together. It's the ones that get rewarded, the ones that get acknowledged, the ones that get appreciated, that get paired to.
Hmm.
And the other ones, simply by neglect, very often fall away.
And so it's your intention, whether conscious or not, that will determine the ones in your organizations that are paired to and the ones that fall away. And
Yeah.
with that, an amazing conversation with you today. Thank you for all of it.
Always fun to to play with you.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell you, it continues to fill me with joy to see where I personally fail miserably
Mm,
and the opportunities that I am given for redemption
mm,
in this very topic, in playing, well, who do I get to be today?
mm.
Who do I get to be so that I do not reduce my results, but at the same time achieve the objectives that are very real? Because if I don't achieve them, then we may not have a tomorrow.
Mm.
I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too, and what you just said gave me homework too, because I notice the places sometimes where I tell myself the story. This is who I have been being,
Mm,
and so that is who I must continue to be because of some sense of an obligation to continuity that that is an obligation that does not exist.
yes.
What a gift. Thank you, Hugh.
Have a great time, my friend. Go
And
be amazing.
thank you, everyone who has joined us. I hope that this has been as valuable a conversation for you as it has been for me. Bye bye.